Hello there, it's your friend Phil, Project Management Trainer and Coach. I'm going to tell you in the next 3 minutes what to do to get PMI-SP certified. Go to pmi.org, click on certifications, hover over it, and go to PMI-SP. Click on that, and it will open up this page where you've got the handbook, the content outline, the exam guide, and a reference list. So let's talk about the handbook first. The handbook will point you in the direction of what to do and what to provide the PMI for your certification. So over here in the handbook, we do a quick look at this summary page of credentials. You'll see that you need 5,000 hours of scheduling if you only have a secondary school diploma. And if you have a bachelor's degree, then you need 3,500 hours, as you can see here. So once you know you meet that criteria, the next thing I will do is go to page 18, take a look at the exam breakdown. You can see that schedule monitoring and controlling is huge compared to the other areas. Those would be the areas to focus on, these two huge ones, schedule planning and development and schedule monitoring and controlling, because the first one deals with, planning and developing the schedule, and the other one deals with monitoring and controlling it. And that's a big part of what the scheduling professional does. Let me just say, if you have used Primavera, MS Project, you've been a project scheduler, project controller, been involved in budgets and schedules and so on, then this exam is probably for you, especially if you've been doing it for a long time. And that was the decision I made. And I said, I'll go down the path. I just kept procrastinating until my mentor, Mary, said, Phil, this is something I did. Why don't you do it as well? So she ends up giving me the exam content outline, which is what I'm about to show you next. And the PMI-SP content outline, back in the day, this was not available for free. Now, thank goodness, the PMI have made the blueprint available, because this is the blueprint on which your exam is based. So you really, really, really want to make sure that when you read this, you are really absorbing all the things that need to be learned. So again, it's broken out, the content outline is broken out into domains. So domain 1, schedule strategy. What do you need to know here? A strategy for how to build the schedule. How are we going to document stuff? How are we going to build a schedule? What are the policies and procedures? How granular do we need to get in the schedule? Are we talking about 8 hours a day being planned, or are we planning at a higher level of 40 hours? Stuff like that. So read this and make sure that you can do every single task. Going over to the next one, schedule planning and development. This is the planning and development of the schedule. Things like your OBS, WBS, control accounts, work packages, code of account, all that stuff, you should be all over it. You should have the mindset of what it takes to develop a schedule. You first understand the scope at a high level, then you create your WBS in hierarchy, then you understand that the WBS lowest component is not a task, and you understand that it's a work package that needs to be decomposed into a task, and all the fanfare that surrounds it. So for that reason, I would say read the practice standard for scheduling, the practice standard for WBS creation. If you can, go through it, find what you don't know in it, and the PMBOK guide, chapters 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and 13. You really want to understand those well. So all of this stuff is very relevant. Moving on to the next one, schedule monitoring and controlling. How you're going to monitor and control the schedule has already been defined, but this is really going to test you on the practicality of executing that plan that you created. So understanding how to collect resource information, or what it could look like in timesheets and meetings and stuff like that. Schedule analysis based on real data. So how things go in, and are you assessing your SPIs and stuff like that? And that's why I said chapter 7 is also important here. Also, understanding ADM, PDM. I mean, get ready to see ridiculous network diagrams that are even too long for you to solve normally. So just get ready to put your knowledge regarding critical path theories and forward passes and backward passes and stuff to the test. And then there's schedule closeout, closing out the schedule and all that you need to do, obtaining formal acceptance for whatever assets you've developed of a schedule nature. Stakeholder communications management, which kind of maps back to chapter 13 and 10 in the PMBOK guide, but with reference particularly to the scheduling area, is very important. So if I were you, I would read that. We also have some cross-cutting skills, and that's why I said chapter 9 inclusive. So if you have not focused on this document, you really want to know it cold, know it well, know what they're saying, and make sure you know what they're telling you to know cold. And then the reference list here, to be honest, this was a little bit of a luxury for me. So what I had focused on over the years was knowing MS Project really well, understanding scheduling really well, and that helped me. But also knowing Chapter 6 is big in the PMBOK Guide, 5th edition. Whatever edition you're using, make sure it's the most recent one. Know that stuff cold in Chapter 6. And then when it comes to those directly mapped portions that I showed you in the content outline, know the inputs, know the tools and techniques, know the outputs. It is so important for you to do that. And then when it comes to things like earned value and PERT and ADM and understanding the formula for variance and standard deviation, all that stuff, it does come into play. So again, if you have not studied the PMBOK guide really well, and again, they put the PMBOK guide first, if you notice in this list. If you have not studied the PMBOK guide really well, you've not paid close attention to it, you definitely want to do that. All right, so that's my 2 cents. I would also say, as far as the scheduling standard, the practice standard for scheduling, very important. Make sure you read it. But when it comes to the some of the core things that are at the back in that big table, and I can't remember the details in that table, whether they're core required components for schedule or for scheduling, that's all well and good, and it's good stuff, and I'm glad that they put that in there. But as far as the exam, nope, you are not going to be tested on that stuff hardcore. I'd say, did I even get one or two of those things? I probably didn't. But you definitely want to. Again, I'm in broken record mode because I want to make it brief, so I'm going to reiterate the key point. Read the PMBOK guide, chapters 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, and 13. Know the tools, techniques, inputs, and outputs of each knowledge area. If you don't know the tools and techniques cold for time, cost, and scope, you will be in trouble. If you don't understand what a WBS is and how to decompose a WBS into activities, you will be in trouble. So know those cold. Read the practice standard for scheduling. Read it to the point that you can't read it anymore. And that should be when it comes to those heavy tables with so much detail. I don't expect you to cram that. And lastly, make sure you browse through the practice standard for WBS creation, and if possible, read earned value in detail in the PMBOK guide, and read the practice standard for earned value if you can. If you can. But definitely, this is a heavily weighted scheduling test. And if you are a good scheduler, I dare say that a PMP who has practiced schedule management the right way should be able to pass this exam without too much effort. I hope that helps. I wish you all the best in your study. Those of you who have contacted me telling me you want to take the PMI-SP, I doff my hat to you. It's time to get it done, isn't it? You're coming up on your third, fourth, or fifth anniversaries of this PMI walk, so it's only fair that you throw in another certification. I wish you all the best. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.